Welcome to the Measure Mastermind for August 6th, 2025. So we're doing actually something a little special today because normally we record this every single Wednesday. We have this call, and we're actually going to present this in replacement of our normal Workshop Wednesday, which is supposed to be. I'm actually going to bring it over so we have something to look at. Um, Normally, we would be posting this inside of our Measure U workshop, library. We'd have the What's New for August 2025. But we thought maybe there are some people out there who don't realize that there's actually a weekly call where we go through what's new every single freaking week, and maybe they want to have their updates a little bit faster. So that's why we're going to present this call so everyone can kind of see like, oh, hey, maybe I want to be a part of that. But also, to be honest, it's a twofer because my kids started school today and I got a little bit behind, and I just thought this would be more fun for everybody involved. So we'll kind of play it by ear how this goes. We're going to go through all of our updates, and then we get to go into the Q&A part of this. And so I'm actually going to go into our live training events. And so here we are today. So we can see here's this one. This is every single week. And there are also other group coaching calls that are happening throughout the month for those that are part of this particular membership level. You can go through and see that, sometimes they're talking about Looker Studio, sometimes they're talking about Google Ads or any sort of paid traffic. So just whatever fits your needs, you can go through and go to them. So we're going in here, just so anyone who happens to know about this, you can always throw your question in at the bottom too. That's what I'm doing right now. Did anyone have a quick question that we want to address? So we're just going through and looking at that. And you can see it's not just myself and Manisha or anybody else. It's all kind of other type of mentors, instructors that could be in here at any given time. They kind of pop in, pop out, give great advice for all of that. So now we're going to hop back over to my slides because it's going to remind me to tell you that if you do have a question, go ahead and use your raise hand icon. We just got a notification from Zoom that they changed it, that you can tell me to slow down too, which is kind of funny. I don't know how I'll see that, but we'll see what happens. But if you have a question, go ahead and use your raise hand icon. And after our updates, we'll go through those questions. If you need to pause the recording because you don't want this part of the recording, which we do every single week, this is not part of the special Workshop Wednesday thing. If you need us to pause it because you don't want part of the recording, just let us know and we'll make sure we accommodate that. So that way it stays secret. And that's why you want to attend live so you can get those little tidbits from everybody. Also, real important to note that sometimes when we're going through these updates and announcements, even though, as I just showed inside of this little thing right over here, the workshop library, sometimes the things that we're going to be showing here in this particular call aren't even available inside of Google or inside of any of the documentation yet. So we'll show you that as we go through. So let's go into our announcement. So for upcoming events inside of MeasureU, and all of that fun stuff. Again, we go to our training calendar, which are live training events right up here in the nav, and you could go through and see whatever's coming up. We already mentioned that there actually are other live training opportunities here inside of the training calendar. For those of you that want to know what's happening with our Google Ads course, we've already put the dates in there if you want to go ahead and RSVP. And just a heads up, we do have several special things that are happening in September. And so just kind of keep an eye out. You'll be seeing those things be posted here in the next couple of weeks, but we're really excited for those. They might involve a dashboard challenge and they might involve a state course that might be coming around sometime this fall. Not sure exactly on those dates just yet when it's going to be presented live to you, but it is something that we're working really hard on. Excited for that one for you. So those are your quick upcoming events announcements. Now we get into the fun little updates. So this is kind of very similar to the what's new of our workshop part. But again, we do this every single week and we're going to show you how it's a little bit different. And I feel like it's a little bit better. So I'm actually going to come all the way over here. I'm still inside MeasureU, obviously. So I'm coming over to our home screen. And this is the reason why it's so cool that we're going to see this, because it's just really, really good timing for everybody. Thank you for doing this. So cool note, John, one of our mentors, is he in the room right now? Normally he's in the room, but so he's actually, I get to talk about John when he's not in here. But he actually posted an update that, hey, he's actually seeing some basically this peer range for woods and plastics because he has some construction clients. And we know that because we've been part of this group forever with him. And so he is actually starting to see this peer information inside of Google Analytics. And you can go through and see some of the comments of others saying that they're not quite seeing it yet and others that are. So, great update. I'm actually going to zoom in so everybody can see kind of what he's seeing, these little bluish areas, kind of what other people are doing. So you can see how you level up and measure up to your peers. I guess not necessarily your competition, could be your competition, but what everyone else is doing. Then we have kind of just a quick question that someone asked about the Looker Studio reports. This is really is an update, but hey, this is a real quick question. Someone's like, hey, why is this not working? They could go through and get a quick answer. I'm pretty sure this is a template that's using old data, even though it says a GA4. That's possibly why it's not working, but we can go through and troubleshoot. But the other really cool update, once again, is if you come inside here, Manisha posted this one just a few hours ago, that Looker Studio now lets you conditionally format a query result variable. Now, what I'm going to show you is look over here, Google, Looker Studio, all this other stuff does not tell you about the thingy thing that Manisha just told you about. So that's why it's really cool to be inside of MeasureU and coming into these calls for that. One of our other mentors, Ahmad, who is part of the coaching calls where I just mentioned all the, the live calls and stuff like that. Ahmad actually posted, Siavash, I take that back. He used to go by Ahmad, now he's Siavash. Siavash Kanani actually posted this so you can see quickly what that means by conditionally formatting these variables, which is neat, as you can see, like, oh, that's what he's talking about. So if you want a quick little visual, that's what he's talking about. So being in touch inside of MeasureU allows you to stay up to date. Even if you're kind of watching these things, you might miss something. And those that are in our community are out there posting these updates and telling you what exactly it is. And so if you have questions about this thing, make sure you plug into one of the training events that you know that Siavash will be attending, which I believe is either this one or this one. So you can kind of see which one that one is. And he's always dropping amazing golden nuggets for that. So let's go ahead and review the other super quick update. So I'm actually looking at the Google documentation for what's new inside Google Analytics. And as you can see, there really hasn't been much that they've been saying over the past few weeks. But again, you saw that John posted something great for us that we're able to see that we should see trickle out. So sometimes Google will start posting an update and it goes to some people first, and then other people will get it over, the following weeks. Or in this case, it might just be because we need more data in certain accounts before we see it. So, and if you're wondering, how do you get to that? We'll talk about that one in just a moment. I'm going to pull another screen up and over so I can get to that for you to show it to you. Like, how do you see this thing? The other super fast updates are inside of Google Tag Manager. Also, really, really important for this one is in just a few days ago, the custom template for JavaScript API has kind of adjusted, and it says it's better for reading the cookie formats and all of these other things for Google Analytics. So this is another great thing about this particular call, because here in a hot sec, I'm going to be asking a question to our audience of all of our more, I say this in the best, most loving way possible, the more nerdier people that are going to kind of translate this for us to tell us, hey, ignore this, hey, this is amazing, or this is not really going to apply to anybody. And so we're going to hear about that here in a moment too. So for those of you that are my nerdy people that you know who I'm talking about, you guys can let us know about this here in just a moment. And then those are real quick for your Google ads. Another just quick little update here. I know that they've been changing some of the different dimensions and metrics that you can pull inside of different APIs. So just be aware of those that you've been pulling. I think Looker Studio might have one too, where you can go through different tools that you're using. They are allowing different metrics and dimensions. So if you've been using one of these type of things, just kind of go back and see like, oh, now you can grab this or that. So there's just a little quick little tidbit for you there. Now I'm on my other screen trying to find the thingy thing that I'm hoping. Um, I had intentionally not chosen something, but okay. So what we're going to do, I believe it's under our property details. And so remember, I was showing you John's post where, how does it know it's in wood and plastics? It is our best guess. These business details are the thing that's going to tell it what kind of business you are, and so that it will align to that. So if you didn't fill this out, so I don't think where Profit School is in this business and industrial. It should possibly be education, but we're going to leave it there for now. But this, if you aren't seeing that and you think you have enough data, it could be that this isn't aligned with whatever it is that you chose. So that is how you fix that little piece. Now, and I don't see any hands raised in the chat, so I will assume that we don't have any questions. So this is where I get to go back to my more knowledgeable and my
Actually,
lovingly.
Julie,
Go
do
ahead.
you mind if I talk about a quick update?
Yeah, go for it.
So most of you, if you follow SEMO, definitely. If you don't follow SEMO, follow SEMO. If you follow SEMO, we're jump following SEMO. SEMO included
Rule
this.
is follow Simo.
Follow SEMO, simple. Okay. And I'm seeing a lot of this on LinkedIn, and a lot of people are like, the sky is falling. It's
Hmm.
not falling, folks. And the reason people are saying the sky is falling is iOS 26. So we all know that a while ago, Apple came out and they said in private browsing, they were going to strip off anything like tracking parameters from the link, which Facebook click, right? ID, Google click ID, those things. They are not stripping off UTMs. So if you see any posts that says, hey, you're stripping off UTMs, don't even read that post, guys. Like that is causing a little bit of heartache, I think, in the community. And I just want to make sure you guys know they are not stripping off UTMs. But the change that is coming is something that was only in private browsing for Safari is now going to be in public browsing. So what should you do, right? Is first of all, see if you even have an audience from Safari. A lot of us may not. I'll be honest, like Julie, we're not a big mobile uh,
Mm-mm. And most of our
analytics. Like,
clients, it's not like most
yeah,
of it is either in-app browser for like because they're doing paid
yeah.
traffic from Facebook and Instagram, or it's Chrome. And so yeah, I agree
Yeah,
that.
we don't have a, so check your Safari, use your device category, your device dimensions in GA4 to see, do you get traffic from Safari? If you do, then just be aware that this is something that Apple is rolling out. As Simo says, that Safari only represents a segment of your traffic. The impact may be negligible. It may be nothing, but do know that this is coming. And as we slowly have this coming, we are keeping our eyes on it. I'm pretty sure the entire measurement community is keeping his eyes on it, right? And it's our chances to share our learnings, right? The first change was made in 2017. I remember it was like the sky is falling. The sky is not falling. They are not ripping off UTM parameters. They are ripping off things like Facebook Click ID and Google Click ID. That said, it's for a segment of your audience. If, let's say, you do have a large Safari audience and you do realize post this that you are having issues, one idea is to honestly look at server side tracking.
Very cool. I appreciate you mentioning that. And I actually do have one more
There you
update
go.
before
There's a lot of
I
updates.
Yeah, and this is actually a very relevant. I know we talked about this last week, but again, for the sake of our recording, that's going to be for our workshop, but also for anybody who may not have been here last week when we talked about this. And this is actually Eddie. He's in the room, or Edward Diaz. He goes by Eddie. He's in the room with us right now. So if anyone has any questions right now, or if you want to, tag him or whatnot, but this he actually posted for us, and he's been kind of our leading expert on these things. But if you are wanting to know, if you've heard things about this accessibility type stuff that's going to happen inside of the US, which, Eddie, is this already happening inside Europe, or is this just kind of a US thing?
Yeah, it just went in effect in June.
Hmm.
It'll have it down there at the bottom for the EU
Okay, there he
area.
goes. Thank you. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So Eventually, this is going to impact all of us, as you can see in the dates here for that. So if you are running into this or you have questions, definitely a great place to, put your questions is in here. Go read through things, tag Eddie and or just be jumping on these calls because I guarantee you in about 6 months, we're all going to be having these questions about this and kind of working through of like what it is. And if you're trying to figure out what accessibility is, I actually showed this one last week. Is Kendra Scott actually, especially on mobile, there is a way to turn on accessibility. There it is, enable accessibility. I found this one last week. I could not find it live. But if anyone's wondering what accessibility mode is, from my understanding, which Eddie can speak to here in a second, but basically for those that might be blind, it would actually read it to you as opposed for you just kind of hearing this crazy music and whatnot, not being able to know exactly what it is that you're clicking on, and just lots of other different types of things. It's not just for someone who might be colorblind or anything like that. So it is mandatory if I'm understanding that correct. There's compliant deadlines and all these things for it's not just for big companies, little companies, it's everybody. So, and as of right now, that's the most current truth. And so you can go through and see some of these other details, which is important. So, if this, the reason why it's important to be aware of this is because you might be in a meeting with a boss or someone who you want to hire you or a client or something, and you're like, hey, we heard about this. And you're like, yep, I'm already in a mastermind group. We're already talking about it. We're staying on top of it. And, we'll make sure that you're not, in out of compliance by the date. You are in this date range. So you have a little bit more time or whatever it is. I don't know. So just know that it is a thing. We all need to be aware of that. Um, all right. Now, my people that are knowledgeable in thingy things. What are your thoughts on this? Because
I
I
would
have a
open
thought.
Simo's post. I shared
Did
Simo's
you?
post in
Okay.
the chat. Open Simo's post.
Where did my
Simo did
chat
the best
go?
job of explaining this in like plain English.
Okay.
You know he would, right?
Of course he does. I have my opinion. Yeah. So blah 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 blah. Okay. Yay. You no longer this API will return the IDs even if the underlying storage mechanism change. Very welcome addition in the APIs. And so this is what you're talking about here? Or are you talking about his
Yeah,
blog post? Okay.
yeah, this one.
I still wonder for a lot of our clients, and this is where my thought comes in, which you guys can disagree with me. My thought is if we have lots of clients who are getting leads and stuff from Facebook or Instagram or these other ways where it's through a different browser, and then they purchase in a different session, most likely on a different browser because they're on their Chrome, their Safari, whatever. In that scenario, I don't think this helps that because it's still cookie based to the browser, not something that can go across browsers. So for some people, this does not matter for those type of businesses where it's across multiple sessions, multiple devices. Is that still a correct assumption?
So I think it depends, right? It really depends on the site and if you need this. Like I'm already liking this because if I have session ID, I can at least look myself up in BigQuery and see actually the data come through and see. And because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when I'm debugging, I want the session ID immediately so I can go into BigQuery and be like, okay, what'd you get? You know, versus waiting
Mm-hmm.
for GA4 to process. So that's where
Correct.
I lean on like I haven't used session ID as much in an end report to connect people together. I do, that said, I do use it a lot to connect the journey. And we do this for the client, Julie, is we use session ID and client ID to link the journey together. But that's all done post data processing. So nothing's in GTM, everything's in BigQuery and Analytics Canvas.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been a big user of session ID or client ID in GTM. Like you could send it with the hit. I wouldn't because you'll hit cardinality. So I wouldn't store
Mm-hmm.
it in GA4 at all. BigQuery already stores it. So I use it from there. But if anybody's actively using client ID and session ID, I'd love to know what your use case is.
Yeah. And Rob, I saw you unmute. What
Yeah,
were you
no,
going
you're
to say?
not going to be able to track it over different devices or
Yeah.
browsers.
So this is
It's
yeah,
Yeah.
this
not.
is so this is
It's
not
all
a
this does is it makes it
solution.
more reliable to get the data because
Mhm.
before, if Google changed the format of the cookie or anything like that, you had to rebuild your
Correct.
custom JavaScript to grab it, right?
Correct. Yeah. So if this is anyone's thinking, this might help them solve the cross-device thingy thing. If they're going across browsers, this still does not do anything for you.
Yeah. It's not going to do anything for you. So like the
Yeah.
only time we end up using it is we do use session ID and client ID, but that's post GTM. That's more of
Mhm.
like we have a client that runs these like flash launches or like launches for
Mhm.
like 3 days. And her exact ask is I need to know how many people went from point A to point B to point C exactly in that order. So we use BigQuery to build that segment.
Correct.
And we
Yeah.
use we use user ID and session ID to link that journey together because we know that that one client ID, user ID and session ID happened on each page and it happened in a specific order by event timestamp. But that's a very advanced, unique
Mhm.
case that's specific for this. Like even we haven't implemented that for ourselves, truth is,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Freddie, I saw you unmute. Did you have any thoughts on this too?
Yeah, I think this is interesting. I have not given this a test spin yet, but as far as the Read Analytics Storage Sandbox API, what I have done in the past is create a first-party cookie and capture client ID and session ID in that cookie to be ingested into like a CRM. And so, obviously when the new formatting came out, that completely broke that solution. We had to kind of
Mhm.
redevelop it, but that's typically how I've done it is drop it into a first party cookie to make it available for a developer to consume into, a field and Salesforce or whatever. So that's kind of the approach that I've taken, but really curious to kind of give this a test spin.
So then are you then linking that specific lead to a specific session? And like what's the end goal of having that data in the CRM?
Yeah, the end goal is to ultimately have the session ID so that we can connect the dots in Salesforce Data Cloud between the session ID and the UTM parameters for traffic hitting that site. So, and the reason why, and it's kind of complicated because this is with like a HIPAA compliant kind of medical scheduling form.
Hmm.
The reason why we're doing it that way is just how their downstream kind of tech stack is set up. So they basically need some type of flag and identifier to connect the dots between the UTM parameters and the leads going through this kind of third party scheduling service. So that's kind of what we designed the solution to do.
So you grab the session ID, store it in Salesforce, then at a later time you grab the UTMs for that session from GA4 and you join the two?
Well, we capture everything in Salesforce Data Cloud, and then
Okay.
we do all
That's what
the
I thought. Okay.
reporting downstream from there. Yeah, using the session ID, the UTMs from the cookie that we're capturing, and yeah, kind of connect the dots there. So it's kind of a long way around to get to the end result of creating a dashboard from all the data.
So how are they using session ID to figure out how many sessions somebody has? Like I'm still trying to get my head around that because I've totally done UTMs. I'm actually doing UTMs for a current client of ours, but never did session ID because the only like I'm trying to figure out what question would you answer with the session ID?
So my
I'm
understanding of
curious.
how the data science team is using it is they require that was one of their requirements to us was, hey, we need the session ID to be able to connect the dots with the sessions where the UTMs were tagged, so that we can pull accurate reporting. So they're using session ID downstream to in their
Mm,
kind of Salesforce Data Cloud logic.
they have two tables.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
guarantee you they have two tables. One table with session ID UTM, another table with the contact with the session ID, and they joined on session ID.
Right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And the only thing is, if I come in twice, which I don't know if Salesforce deduplicates or not, where like if I come in with one email and then another email, I technically have two sessions, two sets of UTMs. The minute you said data science team, I'm like, okay, it's data for the fun of it too, right?
Right.
Yeah, data science teams are great at this, but that's a really interesting use case because I definitely like I hands down think if you can capture UTMs in your CRM, capture UTMs because it's a huge light at the end of the tunnel. And we think we just had this conversation last week. I'm forgetting with I think it was Dana, one of our members, longstanding members. We had this discussion last week of if you get the UTMs in a CRM, get the UTMs in a CRM, right? It's actually an idea I haven't heard of. So that was a really interesting use case. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, totally.
And for anyone else who's wondering if we always go that deep on these calls, sometimes we do, but other times we're answering questions of, how do I'm trying to find something. Where'd my little thingy thing go?
Why is my tag not firing? Right?
Yeah, why is my tag not firing? Or, how do I remove PII? Or how do I add my, referral exclusion? Or, how do I mark a key event? Simple things that, like, or this isn't working or whatever it is. We don't have any questions in the chat, but that is okay. Or I don't see any hands up. But that is okay. This is where we come back to this little screen. And I'm just curious, can someone tell me I'm talking too fast? I'm really curious to see what Zoom tells me.
And
Because
see if I can
apparently
tell you're talking too fast.
because Zoom told me in my, and I can't see it because I'm hosting and I'm sharing screens. And because Zoom said that now we can hear that there's a little notification or a reaction that says too fast or slow down too fast or whatever. I'm seeing yes, no, I'm away. Okay.
Have
Weird.
I
That is
annoyed
like
you enough?
so not noticeable at all. Just in case anyone's wondering, it is in the participants list and it's a teeny tiny icon. So
And does
y'all are
everybody
gonna
see
have to tell
this?
me in chat. Y'all are gonna have to tell me in chat
Yeah.
if I ever talk too fast. Don't use those icons. Okay.
So
Anyways.
if you do a be right back, it mutes you guys. If you do
Oh,
a
that's
reaction, be
interesting.
right back, it actually muted me.
That is
It's like, see ya.
interesting. So yeah, clearly this is a very informal call. I have dogs in the background because my kids went to school today. Manisha has kids in her background. Rob, are your kids in the background today too?
Nope,
Not today? Okay. But
not
yeah, we
today.
usually, lots of people do, and so it's okay. This is what we're all here for. Rob, I saw you unmuted. Did you have a question or you want to have a cool
Well,
update?
just more on that capturing
Hmm.
the oh crap, my
Session
mind
ID, whatever
session ID. But I
yeah.
mean, Freddie, do you overwrite it each time? Because if the person does, I don't know what it's for, but
I
let's
just
say they
love
were
Rob's question because that was going through my head. I just didn't go there. Thanks,
right.
Rob.
Yeah,
You're
it's
in
a
my
good
head.
question. So the client's requirements are that we not overwrite it, and then it expires after 30 days. So they're fine with the possibility of having some duplication in there. They're more interested in just trying to understand in Salesforce, like, how do we attribute this? So they're interested in that first click, kind of first touch attribution for initial leads coming in. And so that's really what it's designed to do. Now it may change over time, like the requirements that they give us, but that's kind of what we
Mhm.
initially kind of developed and launched.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to get the thinking on because yeah, it doesn't make sense to me right now, but
It's okay. I'm struggling too, but you know what? There was data scientist and Salesforce in the same sentence, Rob. Okay?
that usually doesn't cause me problems.
Those two words together, like we do have a Salesforce client, okay? In your defense client, we have our own Salesforce client. And some of the things they do, I'm like, yeah, but why do you want to do that? And they're like, because we want to. I'm like, power to you, dude.
Because I
Knock yourself
can,
out.
yes.
Okay, you know what? If your team can do it, and this is where, I think we have the phrase, Julie, good enough to get going.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes just build what you need. I am guilty of building the Empire State Building or trying to build the Empire State Building and then having to come back down to earth and being like, okay, we're just going to build a house, folks. It's okay. We don't need a building with
Oh
10
my
blocks and
gosh.
50 things,
Yes.
And we've been there, Julie. Come on.
We're definitely notorious for overcomplicating things. But sometimes, that's actually how we built our, kind of our little bit more infamous eyes on the journey. I think I'm still sharing screens, right? So
You
let
are.
me hippity
Yes, you are.
hoppity over here. I have the dashboard. It's on the dashboard template I can show just in case anyone's wondering. Um, True story. It was super, super, super complicated, this thingy thing, once it pops up. Kind of like, you know, all of this, that they saw the page, they're 10 seconds on the page. This we really, really, really overcomplicated. And the reason it's taken a hot sec to load is because it's using a community visualization. And sometimes those take a little bit longer to update when Looker Studios, there it is, doing things. So, but this little thing where we've shown this many times, but we overcomplicated, like, yo, we used cookies. And I mean, it was a beast when we first set it up. And then we kind of, after we let it collect data for a few weeks, then all of a sudden we're like, huh, how else could we do this? This is part over here is more useful than that. And then that's when we trimmed it down to make it all on one page and this and all this other stuff. So absolutely. Sometimes it can be useful to go in down the deep end. But other times it's, start with your stick house first and then go to your, build up from there. So you can go at it from both directions. So yeah, very good question and discussion on that. And I still don't see any questions in the chat. Is it because you guys are a little bit weary of it getting posted onto our workshop library and our YouTube, or is it just everyone is, asking their questions inside of MeasureU anyway? So that's where they're getting their answers from. Oh, Kyle, you have a question. So, Kyle, you popped in a few minutes later than the rest of us. I just want to make sure you heard this particular call. We're actually going to post inside of our workshop library as a replacement of the what's new for August, because we figured we'd go through this every single time anyway. And so we can definitely pause the recording for you if you need us to. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And Kyle, you're muted.
I guess sorry.
Yeah, there you are.
I guess it just depends on how deep we go into the.
Okay. Do you want to ask your question and let me know if you need to share screens and if you want us to pause the recording, because that's totally up to you.
I'll share. And then why don't we pause it just in case?
Okay, cool.
Because it is a client thing.
That is perfectly fine. So this is why you attend live, so you can see all the cool questions and get behind the scenes type stuff. All right, we're now back about 10 minutes later, in case anyone's wondering. And we have another question from Scott, and he said we can record this one. So Scott, I'm going to let you take it away. Do you want to share screens, or are you good for just voicing?
Just chat first. It's a beginner's level question on Elevar, because
Perfect.
I'm fairly beginner at this stuff. So I have got several customer websites, e-commerce websites running on Shopify. We've been trying to improve the data quality between, aspiring to get things like GA4 and Google Ads and Meta Ads to see data, particularly GA4, that's closer to what's being reported in Shopify. So, in terms of e-commerce revenues. So I've had two sites that owned by the same company that we've switched to Elevar to try and boost the data quality. And what's happened is because Elevar is kind of like a wizard-based install, you follow their steps in their back end and click through and connect things up. So from Elevar saying both sites are set up and it's all green, 100% data flowing. But what's been odd is that one of the Shopify sites has seen the numbers recorded by GA4 get closer to what Shopify is reporting, and the other one has seen them get much further away. And they were both set up, using the same step-by-step Elevar setup. And I just wanted to ask the simple questions of, do I need to be doing more than just where do I go from here in terms of one site's got better or one site's got worse in terms of the purchase data that's being reported to GA4, and to the point where the client's kind of looking at me and going, hey, you need to fix this. So now it's I need to figure out what my first steps are towards that, if anyone has any thoughts.
Or I want to let Manisha take it over because she's our resident Shopify Elevar expert.
Before I jump in, Alina, do you have any feedback here? Because you do a lot of Shopify.
Yes. So Scott, if both websites have the same configuration for LFR, and I know you're based in the UK. My suggestion would be to look at how consent is configured, how Google Consent Mode is configured for these two websites. Is the cookie consent banner positioned differently in a website versus the other? Because this plays a really big part in how the users interact, if they interact with the banner. So if consent is denied, then the data that goes to GA4, if the site has a low traffic, then it will not get modeled, or the differences will be bigger. So I don't know the volume that each website has. Maybe one website has a bigger volume, and then the data could be modeled, and the other one has a lower volume and it cannot be modeled in GA4 so well. And then, so consent in Europe plays a really big part. In maybe LFR is set up correctly, everything is working, but if consent is denied, then the data will not be processed, or you will have these differences in GA4.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It doesn't sound right that you have the exact same setup. It chances are is a consent. Do they have consent, first of all?
Well, that's a very good question, and it's also something I haven't checked lately, as they were doing some work on consent on the sites themselves, because they've got an in-house web team, and so I haven't checked what the outcome of that is, but I'm seeing, to Alina's question about the kind of the traffic, the site where the sort of the data's got worse, if you like, that has about 250,000 visitors a month. It's a reasonably busy site. The smaller site, which is more accurate, it's about 110,000 views a month. So they're both reasonable size sites in terms of traffic volumes, but the bigger site is now over-reporting transactions by probably 70%.
How long has the setup been in place?
One of the sites has been in place since the middle of May, which is the one with the bigger issues. And the newer one we did about a month ago, and that one's working better. So one thing I did notice is that Elevar had changed their wizard between the one we installed in May and the one we installed a month ago. So the sort of the setup journey was slightly different. They obviously changed it. Yeah, it's not. I think consent's definitely something I'll check, because consent could be a problem, because
especially if they changed it without telling you.
Yeah, and also I just find that all of my customers struggle with consent settings. They mostly always have them wrong or not working properly. It's a normal
Everybody
problem.
struggles with consent. I struggle with consent.
Yes,
So
that's good to know.
So one quick question. In Elevar, if you go into Elevar for the setup for that client who's having issues, have you walked through the setup and ensured there's no like flags telling you to update something? Because I'd seen something similar with a client, and when I walked through the setup, I realized we just had to like check a few boxes and make a few changes in the update, and then everything was fine.
So when you say walk through the setup, can you be more specific? Because when I go into the dashboard,
hold on,
it's saying everything's set up, and it's saying it's
not giving any kind of like warnings or anything like that.
It's
hey,
all,
this needs to be updated.
all green ticks and live, all saying it's on. But obviously we've completed the setup. So can I go back and I can go back into the settings.
Trying to see if I can
I'm
get
just
into
looking.
my setup. So, okay, so this one here under my tracking, you will see this, like you'll see this, and then you can come in here, and usually sometimes it'll be like, oh, this is like, I know once I came in here and it was like, it had like a red thing at the top. It was like, you need to update this. And I was like, oh, okay. And it kind of looked freaky. It looks
it's all saying also, it's all going,
green.
And I'm
you
getting
click on this and this
the
is
messages. It's all saying 100% accuracy on tracking across GA4, Facebook, and Google Ads. It's saying, everything's showing green, but the numbers are quite way off. So, the suggestion about consent makes sense, because I could see how that could easily be causing the problem. So I'll go away and look at that. But I just wanted to know before I dug in, where should I start looking? So I'll start looking at consent, because the stuff that you're showing in the dashboard there, I'm seeing all green ticks that everything's working as it should be, but we're not seeing that in the data at GA4.
Yeah, and as you go through it too, in the Elevar setup, if I'm not mistaken, you kind of do have some things that ask you about consent. You have to make sure you answer those correctly. Of do you
Okay.
have consent? Do you not have consent? Because yeah, consent is playing a bigger role than we want, especially in the EU, not as much in the US or Canada right now.
Sure.
That said, it could come this side of the world whenever, whenever they mention it. But you guys are kind of like the first runners of this race. So we're learning
Sure.
from you, right? And consent
Okay.
does play a bigger role. I recently had a client who implemented consent. We saw a drop, and they don't have a ton of traffic. They maybe have 100,000 sessions a month if they're lucky. And I'm kidding you not, we saw a huge drop in traffic. Like traffic is so low right now.
Oh yeah,
And
no, I have seen that
it's
as well with
it's
clients
almost
too.
scary, and
Yeah,
it's like, well, what do you want
massive.
me to do?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Apparently about 60% of UK web visitors are saying don't track me.
Yeah,
It's that big,
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is
so
that big. You're right.
so I think also what you're saying there is go recheck the setup and Elevar around consent specifically. So
Yeah.
I'll do that as well. That's another good shout. So I'll
Yep.
go away and try both of those things and see if I can discover
And be
anything
careful
useful.
the client doesn't change consent on you without talking to you. I've definitely
Yeah,
had it where clients have flipped consent on me without talking to
Oh
me.
my
Julie knows
gosh.
that case. Remember, their tracking went
Oh,
down. You know
yeah.
who I'm
I've
speaking
Yeah.
of.
I've just had that happen with another client
I was
just
say,
in the
I think
last
that's probably
week.
going to be a weekly thing for community. It's like, oh, I checked a box, something happened. It broke everything.
I know
Yeah.
our
Yeah, I've
clients like,
just
it just said you just
yeah.
need to add the code to the site. I'm like, don't add the code to the site without talking to us.
Yeah, I've just
Stop
had that
it.
happen with another client. It broke all of our meta ads tracking, so suddenly they're not getting any pixel data anymore.
Yep. Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with Alina. Now, there is, for the Shopify people out there, Alina, this question to you. There is rumor mill out there that Shopify has changed their add to cart signal to be only server side, not browser side anymore. I'm hearing this, but I haven't seen proof yet. And I've tested it again this morning, and my browser side's still firing. Have you seen anything?
No, it's still
Okay.
firing, and you
It's
also
still firing.
have yes, and you also have the API event for add to cart that it's firing if you add it to customer event, so it's working. It gets
Yeah, they're pushing that. So they're pushing the API integration more than waiting for the browser signal. So if you have both, you're fine. What I'm hearing is if you only have the browser side, you're seeing a drop in add to cart. I tested it this morning. I still saw the add to cart.
I still have it, and the majority of clients don't have server side, just a few of them. So
okay. Just curious. I saw
works.
some rumor mill of it, and on LinkedIn, I'm like, I don't know if that's true. And I spoke to some people I know, and they were like, I'm not seeing it. So I was just curious if you saw it because I know you're a big Shopify person. I'm like, I was going to ask you, and then I want to ask JJ as well to see if he's seeing it by any chance because I know they're big Shopify.
Not yet. Hopefully, we will not see it.
Well, the thing is, like platforms like Elevar and Stape will adjust, right? The concern is more if you have custom tracking in place, right? So if you have custom code in place, that's where it gets iffy. That's why for something like Shopify, you want to lean on things like, Elevar, Stape tracking because they stay on top of those changes. That's a big benefit, right? I think that's all.
Nice. Very cool. Well, I know we're just a few minutes over, which is a-okay. So for those that kind of hung out with us for this workshop, this recording, we appreciate you hanging out with us, and we hope that you can join us live one day. Again, just going to pop our little handy dandy schedule over as part of MeasureU. All of these things right here that you see that I've been poking over here, all of these things over here are free for the community. And the training event stuff, all these things are definitely part of our more, the pay part of our membership. Call it Accelerator Pro. So we have kind of bounced back and forth between different names. But check it out. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us too. But we're glad that you're here, and we hope to see you live, and we'll see you next time.